It's time for the markets this morning. Eric Osterhaus with Paragon Ag Advisors here with us. All right, we've got the report behind us that everybody was talking about, but this is a futures market. Now it's time to look forward. I think probably one of the things going into the report that a lot of folks were saying that I talked to in the trade, Eric, was the fact that they weren't going to pay so much attention to the prospective plannings or the planning intentions so much, and they weren't going to put a whole lot of stock into the stocks report, no pun intended there, because all of this is subject to change whether or not we get a lot of corn planted or not, and if those acres transfer to soybeans, if they're able to get the soybeans in. I saw an extended forecast that calls for the next 30-day outlook to be wetter than normal in the Corn Belt.
Yeah, and I think that's a big grain of salt, if not a block of salt, is being taken with that report in regards to almost all the information. Again, not only does that outlook over the next, 2 weeks look wetter than normal, but in some places it's also looking cooler as well, kind of a bad combination considering what we've seen here recently. So, yeah, it still looks like a lot of planning is just a figment of a lot of producers' imagination. And again, some areas you're just going to get, you're going to run out of time here in regards to corn as an example. And I do think that is, not only a major concern of the producer, but you're also seeing a little bit of that reflected in the markets as well, just in how it's traded over the last couple weeks. We've generally seen corn starting to grind just a little bit higher and beans taking a reverse course. So I do think that's a concern that's weighing out there overall.
But isn't it going to take quite a bit to, now not so much for the soybeans. We've got an oversupply of soybeans. Everybody keeps talking about we could go over 1 billion, and that's a big number. So the soybean thing, I kind of understand, but what's it going to take to shake the shorts out of the wheat market and the corn market? Corn has a great demand story. If China would come back and start buying some more grain from the United States here this week, that could certainly, I can see where that could prop up corn a little bit. But man, wheat just cannot catch a break. It seems like every time that there's a little bit of a bounce here, the funds just come in and sell it out and we go short again.
Yeah, it's been interesting, not a good sort of interesting, but it's been interesting to see how committed the shorts have been and the funds have been being on the short side of the grains in particular. I just think a little bit of this trade discussion feels like it's a very long-term process in their minds. And when you see the dollar trading back up higher as well, and some of those other things that encourage a fund to be short the grains, they just seem very comfortable in that short position. And I think they're trading some of that longer term net effect of that trade discussion. And so what's going to take to get them shook out of those positions, I do think it's not only that they can leave the position or get out of the position, but it's also the speed at which they get out of those positions that can make a difference in the markets. And it could be weather related. At some point, you look at how short we are on wheat and corn as an example. I don't see any of the combines out in the field just yet on those two crops. And again, even if we have a burdensome supply story on wheat, which, let's be honest, that is old news at this point, again, with the loss of acres and the smaller acres and maybe quality issues, we've got all these things ahead. At some point, that may be enough to get the funds to think it's just the wrong time to be that short. We just haven't got that opportunity yet, and we haven't seen enough physical sales in the export markets on wheat to really get them motivated yet.
I've got less than 60 seconds here, but what do you think of this cattle market? It seems like there's still a lot of longs in it.
Yeah, there's still a lot of longs there, and I think, seasonally there's a little bit of concern for this time of the year that we usually see a little bit of a near-term high put in and a little slowness, a little drawback. And I would think that I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see a healthy little pullback. just for nothing else because we got a little overloaded with cattle, I think, here at the feedlots in regards to weather and supply, being able to supply because of the floods and other things. So it's natural that we back down here a little bit, but I still think the longer term outlook looks firm.
Well, you know, earlier in the week we did trade some cash cattle a little bit, about $1 to $2 less in the south, around that 126 level. This is one of those weeks where we didn't wait until the very last day to trade cattle. What's the website or the phone number?
Best number to get us hold of us is 888-452-8751.